feeling the calluses on his palms. I am Reba. Jordan let go of her hand, stepping back and assessing her with a professional eye. So, you going to join us, Reba? Reba immediately crossed her arms, shaking her head, trying to make herself look as small and unapproachable as possible. Oh, I do not know. I just think that me and my fellows will just watch for a while. Jordan chuckled, a deep, rich sound. He shook his head, his professional demeanor taking over. Well, Reba, you are not going to get into shape by just watching. You need to sweat a little. Reba took a step back, her defensive walls rising higher. Yeah, but you guys got to understand, it has been a while since I have been in a gym like this, and I do not think. Hello. There, Jordan interrupted cheerfully, turning his attention back to his client. Barbara Jean, you really are getting limber. Reba watched, her eyes widening in horror as Jordan guided Barbara Jean to a mat. The stretches that followed were intense, bending and twisting Barbara Jean into positions that looked both incredibly painful and highly compromising. Remember when you could not put your leg over my head? Jordan asked casually, assisting her with a deep, invasive stretch. Barbara Jean groaned slightly, pushing through the tension. Remember when I did not want to? Reba felt her face grow hot. She looked around the gym, desperate for an escape route. She stepped closer, her voice tight with anxiety. Is that legal? I mean, necessary? Jordan looked up, not breaking his concentration on the stretch. It is critical to stretch the muscles out before you exercise them, he explained calmly, pressing his hands against Barbara Jean's back. Yeah, Barbara Jean gasped, her face red. Otherwise, you could really hurt something. Turn over, Jordan commanded softly, his voice a gentle murmur in the loud gym. Barbara Jean flipped onto her back. Jordan leaned over her, his hands pressing down firmly. He looked over at Reba, an enthusiastic smile on his face. Reba, you need to watch this one. This one is my favorite. Reba took a step closer, feeling like an intruder, a spy caught behind enemy lines. Her heart hammered against her ribs. All right, now this gives a good stretch to the back and chest muscles. Really should do this once a day, Jordan instructed, his hands moving over Barbara Jean's torso with practiced, terrifying familiarity. Barbara Jean closed her eyes, letting out a long sigh of relief. Oh, I would do it all day if I could. Reba felt a bead of sweat roll down her neck. The heat in the gym suddenly felt oppressive, suffocating. She reached up, fanning her face with her hand. Is this one of these gyms that has the heat on real high? I am sweating. Okay. Jordan stepped back, clapping his hands together loudly. The sharp sound broke the tension. Oh wow, time for some weightlifting. Barbara Jean sat up, looking energized and ready for battle. Oh good. Reba let out a massive sigh of relief, stepping back toward the safety of the exit. That is enough of that stretching. Hello. Okay. Jordan walked over to a rack of heavy dumbbells, his muscles flexing. Knock this out. Yeah, okay. All right. Reba turned back to Barbara Jean, her mind entirely made up. The scene she had just witnessed was too much for her fragile nerves to handle. I think I have seen enough. Barbara Jean wiped her brow with a small towel, walking over to Reba. She looked radiant, glowing with health and happiness. So, what do you think? You have any interest in getting a personal trainer? Reba looked at her, her voice dripping with dry, biting sarcasm. Only if he takes me out to dinner first. Barbara Jean did not catch the sarcasm, her enthusiasm blinding her to Reba's distress. Are you sure, Reba? Seriously, this is one of the best relationships I have ever had. Reba stared at her, the words hitting her like a physical blow. Best relationship. She swallowed hard, her throat feeling suddenly dry. Oh, I think Jordan has his hands full with you. Barbara Jean laughed, a bright, musical sound. Oh, you are a beginner, Reba. You will start with Dot. She turned around, waving her hand toward the far corner of the gym. Dot. Yeah. Reba turned her head and froze. Walking toward them was a woman of truly terrifying proportions. Dot was a mountain of solid, unyielding muscle. Her shoulders were as wide as a doorframe, and her biceps strained against the fabric of her tight black shirt. She walked with a heavy, intimidating thud, her face set in a permanent scowl. Barbara Jean smiled sweetly, gesturing between the two women. "This is Reba. She seems a little tense. I would spend some extra time on the stretching." Dot stopped in front of Reba, looking down at her from an imposing height. She crossed her massive tree-trunk arms over her chest. "Hey!" Dot barked out, her voice deep and gravelly. She pointed a thick, calloused finger at the floor mat. "Get down there." Reba did not hesitate. She turned and sprinted out of the gym as fast as her legs could carry her, leaving the neon lights and the smell of citrus body spray far behind. An hour later, the quiet sanctuary of the living room felt like a safe harbor. Brock was pacing back and forth across the carpet, wearing a path in the rug. He looked up anxiously as Reba walked through the front door. She looked exhausted, her hair slightly messy, a haunted look in her eyes. "So, did you see him?" Brock demanded instantly, closing the distance between them. "What is he like? Is he little? Could I take him?" Reba dropped her purse on the sofa, sinking down heavily into the cushions. She stared straight ahead, replaying the terrifying images in her mind. "He is big, but he is not as big as Dot." Brock frowned, entirely confused by the reference. He waved his hands impatiently. "So, what do you think? Is there something going on there?" Reba sighed, rubbing her temples. She closed her eyes, feeling the exhaustion deep in her bones. "Look, Brock, I was hoping that I could go down to the gym and check things out and come back and tell you that there is nothing to worry about. But..." Brock's face fell, his worst fears confirmed. He stepped back, gripping the back of an armchair for support. "That is it. Reba, come on," Brock pleaded, his voice breaking slightly. "Okay." Reba looked at him, her eyes wide with lingering shock. She leaned forward, lowering her voice to a harsh whisper. "I do not know if they are having an affair or not, but if they keep working out like that, they might be having a baby." Brock staggered backward, dropping into the armchair, burying his face in his hands. The devastating confirmation of his worst paranoia crushed him. "Man, I knew there was something going on." At that precise moment, the front door swung open. Barbara Jean breezed into the room, carrying a gym bag and radiating a post-workout glow. She looked vibrant, energetic, and completely oblivious to the heavy, oppressive atmosphere in the living room. "Hey, everybody," Barbara Jean sang out cheerfully, dropping her bag by the door. "I am here, and I am saying well." She spotted Brock sitting in the chair, looking utterly miserable. She walked over, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Oh, une." Brock stood up abruptly, shaking off her hand. He glared at her, his face flushed with anger and heartbreak. "Do not you honey me." Barbara Jean took a step back, her cheerful demeanor vanishing instantly, replaced by utter confusion. "What are you talking about?" Brock ran a hand through his hair, his voice trembling with righteous indignation. "Oh man, did you honestly think that I would not find out about you and Jordan?" Barbara Jean's eyes widened in sheer shock. She looked at Brock, then over at Reba sitting quietly on the couch. The puzzle pieces suddenly clicked together in her mind. "What? We were working out. It was perfectly innocent." Brock scoffed, pointing a furious finger at Reba. "Reba, tell him what you saw." Reba sank deeper into the cushions, pulling a throw pillow over her chest like a shield. She wanted absolutely no part of the explosion she had just triggered. "I do not want to get involved." Brock turned back to his wife, his anger boiling over. "She said you are having an affair." Barbara Jean let out a sharp, bitter laugh. The absurdity of the accusation was staggering. "Any more than I already am." She stepped closer to Brock, crossing her arms defensively. She looked him straight in the eye, her voice firm and unwavering. "Okay, Jordan and I are not having an affair. He is gay." The words hung in the air,